artery. If you zoomed in, you would see that those are red blood cells, just blood. So primarily red blood cells is what you would recognize in there. This is the artery. And if we scan over here a little bit higher, this kind of mess over here, this is the vein. Okay, veins are not as strong as arteries. Their walls are thinner. They don't have as much muscle. When you section them or cut them, they tend to collapse. So they will look like this typically, or stretched out, bigger, whereas the artery will retain its shape. Okay, I usually test from the artery because the layers are more clear and it's just more obvious all over and easier. Okay. So you can see how they're both lying next to each other right here, but this is the artery, the wall of the artery right here. Sorry about that lighting. I don't know how to fix that other than to turn everything off and start over. I don't want to do that. Okay, so this is the wall of the artery right here. And so yes, the black is elastic fibers, so that's kind of nice because in the other slides you looked at, that wasn't stained. This is the lumen, meaning the inside of the organ. And so arteries, blood vessels have three layers. They have an intima, a media, and an externa, or also known as an adventitia. Okay, the intima is very thin, and it has simple squamous epithelium. Okay, so if we zoom in on there, and remember, it's just a single layer, so really all you might see is, oh, actually you can see it. That's pretty cool. So you're looking for the nuclei and a little bit of the cell next to it. So see right here? This is the simple squamous epithelium, which is called that endothelium. Remember, we went over that. Simple squamous epithelium lining blood vessels. And then also in the intima, you have this is called an elastic membrane. Wavy thing, almost like waves. This is the elastic membrane there. So this is the intima, this very thin innermost layer. Okay, we'll survive the dark, so I turn up the light. Okay, so then the media is the smooth muscle layer. Depending on the artery, it may have a lot of elastic fibers or it may have a little elastic fibers. This has quite a bit of elastic fibers in it, just depends on where in the body it is. If it's closer to the heart, it's going to have more elastic fibers because it has to stretch and recoil because it's a big burst of high pressure blood. So the smooth muscle itself didn't come out very well. Usually you can see smooth muscle pretty well, but we've got the elastic fibers. And so this is all the media layer. If you put tunica media, that's fine too. You don't need the word tunica. That just means layer from the eye. Remember, we had the tunics of the eye. So this is the media layer, and it's primarily smooth muscle. In arteries, like you can see, there is sometimes some elastic fibers, and there may be some other connective tissue in there as well. Okay, then moving outward, this is the adventitia. It's mostly going to be dense irregular connective tissue. We will go over this in lecture, what this blood vessel actually is made up of. Okay, we will go over that information. This is the adventitia, also known as the externa. And depending on the blood vessel, again, it may have some elastic fibers. This one obviously does. Okay, and did I miss anything? Check my lab. Artery, vein, intima, media, the endothelium, adventitia, elastic fibers, and smooth muscle. Okay, we just can't see the smooth muscle super well. But... Okay, you can also see the smooth muscle in this one as well. So this one, the intima is really not discernible. It is indiscernible. So I would not use this for the intima. But all of this is the media. So smooth muscle along with elastic fibers, this is the aorta. So the aorta being that first blood vessel that the big burst of blood from the left ventricle is going to shoot into. It has to be really elastic, it has to stretch and recoil. It's like a rubber band. So it has really elastic walls. So we get bigger and then it gets smaller. Okay, and then out here, pretty decent. What's this layer out here?
The
adventitia or externa. Yeah, Okay, so that was the aorta showing the media with smooth muscle and elastic fibers, and the outer adventitia layer or externa. Same thing. Okay, and okay, so like I put up in the notes on the screen, it said abnormal veins and some mucosa. Okay, so that's something just to sort of ignore. No, that's atypical, abnormal. I don't know what was going on in this particular specimen to cause that. Okay, and so we're looking at the layers of tissues. So lumen being the inside. Okay, so you expect to see the epithelium right here. And then you have some underlying connective tissue. Okay, it wasn't on your list, but you should still understand that. This is a mucous membrane, right? Epithelium and underlying connective tissue. It's a real tissue. And then we've got our hyaline cartilage, which is called the tracheal cartilage. Okay, and so this looks like the anterior side. The posterior side of the trachea, which sits right up next to the esophagus, is going to have the trachealis muscle. Where? Maybe I was wrong. Oh. So what you do is you go all the way around the edge, scan around all the way around until you look where the cartilage goes away. Wow, it's going crazy. The cartilage goes away and you see this smooth muscle here. You see this smooth muscle? Yeah. And see the gap in the cartilage? So the esophagus is going to be pressed right up against that. When you swallow a bolus of food, the esophagus can expand more forward. And you have that break in the cartilage for that purpose. Okay, so let's look at the smooth muscle. Make sure that's smooth muscle. Okay, so this is smooth muscle. You recognize it? You guys recognize that smooth muscle? Yeah? Good. Okay, and what's that called? What's that muscle called?
Trachealis muscle.
This is trachealis muscle. That's his name. Let's go in here. Okay, and then the tracheal cartilage. Okay, we did that. This name of these are the ones you can feel in the front of your neck here. Those are the tracheal cartilages. It's the name of the structure. It's comprised of, what is this?
Hyaline cartilage.
Yeah, really good example of hyaline cartilage. Okay.
It's a really good slide.
Let's see if we can see the perichondrium. Yeah, we can. See it? Right there. Perichondrium. Okay, so that's the trachea. Questions on the trachea? Oh, I didn't zoom in on that feeling today. I'm going to zoom in on that for you. Yeah, you want to be able to see, confirm that the right tissue type, right? Okay, so here's the lumen, and you can see the cilia. Here's the goblet cell. Go one more. I really like the cilia. I want to see them. While we're here. Pretty cool. Don't smoke or you're going to kill those little guys. That's probably the least of your worries. Isn't going to make probably true sense today, but just think about it, and when we go over it, hopefully it'll all come together. Okay, so this is the lung, and you can recognize that you're within the lung because of the alveoli. It's all of these little circular, more or less circular things. These are the alveoli. Very thin-walled air sacs. So most of your lung is filled with these, comprised of these. So it's like a sponge filled with air. Squeeze the lung and push out the air. Very thin-walled alveoli. Okay, we'll talk about what that is. You can see that it's really thin, simple squamous epithelium there. Okay, so now we need to look for a bronchus and a bronchiole, and those are all branching through the lung tissue. Probably take too long. Oh wait, there's the. Looks like a bronchiole, but not a really good example. Let's do bronchus first. Okay, so the bronchus or bronchi plural, there's not just like one going through the lung tissue, there's many, there's various ones. So if you found more than one, that's correct. And so this is the wall of the bronchus right here. This is the lumen, this is the epithelium, you've got the underlying connective tissue, and then you've got smooth muscle, and then you also should have hyaline cartilage if it's a bronchus. The bronchus, okay, yeah, it does have the pseudostratified, okay. So the bronchus has the cilia, so you want to look for that pseudostratified ciliated columnar. Just look for the cilia, okay, line for the bronchus, and also look for the hyaline cartilage. This is a lymph nodule or lymphoid nodule. That's the same thing. Should kind of look like the Peyer's patches that you guys saw, or the lymph nodule that we saw in the large intestine. We saw in the colon, yeah, last unit. So let's go back to that lymphoid nodule or lymph nodule. Same thing. Okay, so it's within the wall of the bronchus. Lymphatic tissue, it's protective. Okay, this is cool. You can see the cilia. This is pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. What's this? Smooth muscle. Good. What kind of tissue is that?
Hyaline
Hyaline cartilage. Good. Don't fall asleep on me. We're almost done. I know you guys are burnt out. Get you to the weekend. You can have a little break. Okay. So just go around the edge here. You can get a little bit more view of what a bronchus looks like. Okay, and let's go back. Look for bronchiole. Okay, so the bronchiole is not going to have the cilia. Bronchioles are much, much smaller. Of course, size is hard to discern when you're looking up here at the slide. I know if you don't see them side by side, it's hard to tell what's smaller. So that's maybe not the best criteria. They tend to have a wavy wall. Whoops. Here. This one's not very wavy. Okay. You should see epithelium. You want to look for epithelium lining. You guys know what epithelium looks like, isn't it? That definitely looks different. That epithelium looks different than the pseudostratified ciliated columnar. It's hard to tell exactly what it is. It should be simple cuboidal, although it varies a little bit. Okay, so it's not really important right now, but you should look for epithelium. And I see smooth muscle right here, but do you see any cartilage? No cartilage. Okay, no red blood cells on the inside. We're not mistaking it for a vein. Veins and arteries do not have a thick epithelium like that, right? They have that really thin epithelium, the endothelium. Okay, so that's an example of a bronchiole. And let's just look at one more. What about that one? Do you think that's fun?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, that looks like one. This looks like a little, maybe a little tiny venule or something down here. Maybe. Or is that just another alveolus? I don't know. Hard to tell. Yeah, so this is a bronchiole as well. It's got some stuff on the inside. Mucus or something. And it's got some smooth muscle. We see the epithelium, no cartilage, no cilia.